Every cooking veteran knows that you need to have a running supply of soup recipes to be adequately prepared for soup season each year. We're still in the first quarter of soup season, and I've decided that this year, I'm going to be king of the soups. This recipe is my rendition of a standard chicken soup. I like my soups to have some beef to them, so I add lots of chicken, potatoes, and lentils to ensure each bowl will fill me up. Here's how I make my chicken and lentil soup. To get started, you're going to make all of your cuts first, so wash and chop all of your vegetables. Take 2 medium or about 400 grams of russet potatoes and cut them into a large dice. Any kind of potato will work in this soup, but I like to choose something on the starchier side because as the potatoes cook, they'll release some of that starch into the broth and help thicken it up. If you prefer, you can also peel the potatoes beforehand. I don't find it's a necessary step, so I just skip it. Next, you're going to cut 2 to 3 carrots or about 227 grams or a half a pound into a small dice. One of the cool things about soups is that you can add just about any vegetable you want and it won't drastically affect the end product as long as you don't add a ridiculous amount. So if you have some vegetables in the fridge that need to be used up, feel free to add them. It really won't make that much of a difference in this soup. Next, you're going to cut 3 stalks or about 100 grams of celery into a small dice. I find that the easiest way to dice celery is to make one lengthwise cut down the valley of that celery, and then it's easier to work with from there. Lastly, we need to chop our aromatics, so take 1 medium sweet onion or about 200 grams and cut it into a small dice. There's quite a bit of chopping in this one, so it should be great practice for those of you who want to work on your knife skills. Last but not least, we've got 3 cloves or 15 grams of garlic that we're going to mince up as fine as possible. Now that you've got everything chopped, it's time to make yourself king/queen of the soups. So get out a large pot over medium heat and add 1 tablespoon or 15 grams of oil. Add in your onions, carrots, and celery, season lightly with a bit of salt, and allow those to develop some color over the heat. Give this some time to cook. You can develop lots of good flavor for your soup at this step, and you don't want to rush it. Once the vegetables have softened, browned a bit, and become fragrant, then you can add in your minced garlic. I don't like adding the garlic early because it tends to burn easier than the harder vegetables do, and burnt garlic is not pleasant. After those vegetables have had their alone time in the pot, move them to the outside and create some free real estate in the center. You likely won't have much room because of how many vegetables we have in here, but the more room you can make, the better. Add in a bit more oil and lay down 2 pounds or 908 grams of chicken thighs into the bottom of the pot. The goal here is to maximize the amount of chicken touching the surface of the pot to have the most amount of browning as possible. Unless you have a giant pot with lots of surface area, you're going to have some pieces of chicken that sit on top, and that's okay. After a couple of minutes, you can flip that chicken over to give the other side a chance to brown, and after it has, you add in 8 cups or 1,920 grams of water. You're going to bring this to a boil, then reduce the heat to low and simmer uncovered for 15 to 20 minutes. We're really just looking to cook our chicken all the way through at this step. Once it has been boiling for a while, you may notice some foam and scum surface on the top of the soup. You can skim this off with a spoon and just get rid of it. The scum is proteins that have been released from the chicken. It's perfectly fine to eat, but I remove it because it's unsightly. Next, you're going to add in those potatoes that we cut earlier and then 3/4 of a cup or 180 grams of dried lentils. Give everything one big stir to make sure it's all incorporated and that all the potatoes are submerged underneath the water, and then you're going to boil this for 10 minutes to soften those potatoes and cook the lentils. At some point in this process while the pot is boiling, you can pull the chicken out of the pot. The chicken should already be done cooking, so whenever you're ready for it, you can take it out and begin to shred it. In my experience, the easiest way to shred chicken is to use a KitchenAid mixer with the paddle attachment or a regular handheld mixer with the standard beaters. You can turn on the machines and get after it, and a couple of minutes later, you'll have shredded chicken. Be careful not to overdo it though, because you can end up with a product that is overprocessed if you overmix it. If you're like me and you don't have any kind of fancy mixer, you'll have to go at it with 2 forks. Once the potatoes and lentils have cooked and softened, you can add in 1 cup or 100 grams of frozen peas, as well as the chicken that you just shredded. My chicken soup is flavored with soy sauce and lemon juice, which gives an umami and slightly tangy flavor profile that is a party on your tongue. So add in 3 tablespoons or 45 grams of lemon juice and 4 tablespoons or 60 grams of soy sauce. Stir everything together so that the lemon juice and soy sauce get evenly incorporated, give it a taste, and adjust any seasonings as needed with salt and pepper, or even adding more soy sauce or lemon juice if you prefer. One last thing that I like to include is 1 to 2 teaspoons of sriracha. Now this isn't for spice or heat, but sriracha has a garlickiness to it that can add an additional layer of flavor to the soup. Again, make sure you are taste testing as you go and adjusting flavors as you need. Once you have it in a place you like, it is ready to eat. And with the colder months approaching, you should all include this recipe in your soup rotations for weeknight dinners or even for your meal prep. Soup is the best dish for meal prep in terms of reheatability. Obviously, if you have to travel with your meal prep dishes, then choosing soups isn't preferred, but if you can keep this one in your fridge, it will be a welcome sight to your hungry stomach every time you open the fridge door. This recipe should make about 6 large bowls of soup, and if you divide the recipe into 6 servings, each bowl will have about 417 calories and 42 grams of protein. The day after I cooked this soup, I was looking in my pantry and I found this product from Trader Joe's that I forgot I bought, and I thought it would be the perfect thing to add on top of the soup. The product is called Crunchy Chili Onion, which is objectively one of the worst product names in the history of the world. It's effectively just a chili garlic oil, but when you add it to the top of the soup and the oil mixes with the broth, it creates a mixture that coats your palate perfectly. If you happen to have a Trader Joe's nearby or just some chili garlic oil laying around, I highly recommend trying to add it to the soup. The full written recipe for how you make this chicken and lentil soup will be included in the description of this video below, but you can also find it on my website, mealprepmanual.com. How I'm able to make a living is with a product on my website called the MPM Club, which is a membership-based service giving users access to all of my recipe index, which includes meal preps, freezer-friendly snacks, and macro-friendly desserts. If you want to make your weekly meal prep easier on yourself, go give it a look. See you next week.